Evening, everybody. Welcome to night two of YAB Online. I really hope that you didn't have too much of a sugar overload yesterday with yesterday's challenge, and I hope that today you didn't get too wet having a go at today's challenge. But we're back again tonight to get back into the book of Judges. Tonight we're going to be in verses 15 to 29. But before we go there, let's recap on what we thought about last night. We thought about just how serious sin is and its terrible consequences. God's people had been left in this terrible situation, oppressed by the Midianites, and they'd cried out to God for help. But because God is a God of grace, well, he sent someone to save his people, and he called Gideon. Now, Gideon's the last person that we might have chosen to do that job, but that's the point. Gideon was very ordinary and not that impressive, but God said that he would be with him. Gideon was ordinary, but he was called by an extraordinary God. So let's get stuck into tonight's passage together.
Hi everyone, it is Jess Small here. For those of you who don't know me, I am a member at First O'Hochel. I am a previous YAB champion, so I am a legend from the past. I'm just joking, I'm definitely not a legend from the past. But Steve asked me if I could just come this week and just share my favourite memory from all the years that I went to YAB. So I'm going to cheat a little bit and I'm going to tell two, but hopefully you can bear with me. So my first favourite memory is one year, it was whenever we were in Murloch House, that's right. And we in our team, everyone had to do a talent show and everyone had to prepare something to perform at the talent show. So our team decided that we would do a choreographed dance. So we picked our song, which was Taylor Swift, Shake It Off, and we got down to business and choreographed this. It was a fantastic dance. But one of the memories that will just always stand out in my mind is James Burton with this pink cushion snake. I don't know where it came from. Oh, it was our mascot. That was definitely it. And it was around his neck and he was just up there at the front in front of everyone shaking it like no one's business. He was shaking it off and we did so great. Everyone loved it and I was just so proud of our little team. We did so great and James Burton's just memory there at the front of my mind. But my second favourite memory is something that happened 7 years ago. It was in 2013 and till this day whenever I think about it I'm almost like bent in two in stitches laughing. So I'm not sure whether you still do it, but it was the dreaded Bush Tucker trial and all these horrific drinks and foods were wheeled out. I think this year it was muffins, I think was the food, and they were stuffed with stuff. Horrific even thinking about it. But we went up one at a time in our teams and we all had to clear what our allocated drinks and food was in front of everyone. So Caitlin Galbraith, known to have a bit of a weak stomach, went up, grabbed her drink, which was this brown bright orange, I think it had like curry powdered turmeric fish stuff in it, big lumps of like beans, and it was honestly so grim. So she went, lifted her drink, thought, if I'm gonna do this I'm just gonna have to throw it all back in one go. So she took the drink, chucked it in the mouth, tried to swallow it, the spice hit her, it then started to come up the back of her throat, out the front of her nose, in front of everyone. This curry orange mess coming out of the front of her nose. Absolutely disgusting, but absolutely hilarious. Everyone is just sitting around wetting themselves. The leaders, which makes me laugh even more, just snapped away pictures of her, and then she ran to throw up. And it was just a great memory and a great time, and I'm sorry it was maybe a wee bit graphic, but it was all just such good crack. And the best thing about it was the leaders snapped a fantastic picture of this orange on her face, and I tried to dig deep and find it, but she must have erased it from history because I couldn't find it anywhere. But it's sad that you can't all be together this week to make those type of memories together again, but hopefully this week you'll still be making some class memories and you'll be learning loads which will really impact you about our extraordinary God. So today's reading is going to be taken from Judges chapter 6, starting from verse 15 and going through to verse 29. "Pardon me, my lord," Gideon replied, "but how can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest in Massa, and I am the least in my family. The Lord answered, I will be with you, and you will strike down all the Midianites, leaving none alive. Gideon replied, If now I have found favour in your eyes, give me a sign that it is really you talking to me. Please do not go away until I come back and bring my offering and set it before you. And the Lord said, I will wait until you return. Gideon went inside, prepared a young goat, and from an ephah of flour he made bread without yeast. Putting the meat in a basket and its broth in a pot, he brought them out and offered them to him under the oak. The angel of God said to him, Take the meat and the unleavened bread, place them on this rock, and pour out the broth. And Gideon did so. Then the angel of the Lord touched the meat and the unleavened bread with the tip of the staff that was in his hand. Fire flared from the rock, consuming the meat and the bread, and the angel of the Lord disappeared. When Gideon realized that it was the angel of the Lord, he exclaimed, Alas, sovereign Lord, I have seen the angel of the Lord face to face. But the Lord said to him, Peace, do not be afraid, you are not going to die. So Gideon built an altar to the Lord there and called it, The Lord is Peace. To this day it stands in Ophrah of the Abiezrites. That same night the Lord said to him, Take the second bull from your father's herd, the one 7 years old. Tear down your father's altar to Baal and cut down the Asherah pole beside it. Then build a proper kind of altar to the Lord your God on the top of this height. Using the wood of the Asherah pole that you cut down, offer the second bull as a burnt offering. So Gideon took 10 of his servants and did as the Lord told him. But because he was afraid of his family and the townspeople, he did it at night rather than in the daytime. In the morning, when the people of the town got up, there was Baal's altar demolished, with the Asherah pole beside it cut down, and the second bull sacrificed on the newly built altar. They asked each other, Who did this? When they carefully investigated, they were told, Gideon, son of Joash, did it.
Let me ask you this tonight. Who is the most famous person that you've ever met? I'll be honest, I don't really have too many noteworthy moments to tell you about. I did once get a picture taken with some gladiators from the 90s TV show once because they'd come to my primary school. But they're not that big of a deal, and to be honest, most of you probably have no idea what gladiators even is. Apart from that, well, I did say hello to Da from Give My Head Peace once. I was in Starbucks in Botanic Avenue when I was at uni. I once waved at Matt Chandler, a pastor from Texas that I'm a big fan of. I've got quite a few of his books and would listen to quite a few of his sermons. I did once have a short conversation with a guy called Andrew Peterson. He's a singer-songwriter and an author from America whose music I absolutely love. He actually wrote the song Is He Worthy? But apart from that, well, all I can add is that I once had dinner in a restaurant in Belfast where James Nesbitt was also eating a couple of tables down from me. And I'm pretty confident that I once walked past Tiger Woods in New York when I was away with school. But there's nothing that exciting there. So I wonder, who have you met? Anybody impressive? Maybe you can share your story with us on Facebook or Instagram once we're done tonight. But no matter who you've met, I doubt that it really made a huge difference to your life. You might have gotten a picture and you might have gone all weak at the knees in excitement, but I doubt that you connected with that person in any kind of meaningful way. In fact, maybe for you it was a little bit of an anticlimax, maybe even a little bit of a disappointment. I mean, they do say that you should never meet your heroes. My guess is that meeting famous people, well, for us, it's exciting for a moment, but kind of meaningless in the long run. But not so when it comes to meeting God, though. You see, meeting God, well, that changes everything. And the story of Gideon proves that for us. Let's go back to verse 11 for a second because it reveals something very important to us. I wonder, can you see it? God came to Gideon. Here's Gideon, the weakling, hiding out in a pit in the midst of a messy and a terrible time for him and his people. And God comes to him. God steps into his world and into his mess. And that's really important. See, we don't have to go hunting for God. There isn't a 10-step method for coaxing God to come and speak with us like he's some sort of genie hiding in a lamp. No, God isn't hiding. John D. Alcock says this. People have all sorts of ways in which they try to connect with God, all sorts of religions and techniques, all trying to convince God to come out of hiding. But God's not hiding. We're the ones who are hiding. God comes looking for us. It all starts with him. We're told that the angel of the Lord came to speak with Gideon. Now, when we think of angels, no doubt that we think of white shining clothes, soft voices, perfect glowing skin, wings, and maybe even tinsel. Our minds probably think of angels as being more like Tinkerbell from Peter Pan, but that's not the case here in the Bible. This angel of the Lord probably just seems like a normal and ordinary man. How do we know that? Well, look at Gideon's greeting to him. He says in verse 13, "Pardon me, my lord." This is the kind of polite greeting that you would offer to any visitor, kind of like calling him sir. Also, we'll notice that Gideon isn't in any way freaked out or scared. He's speaking to this angel as if he's just another ordinary person who's come along and said hello. And again, let's not overlook the importance of what's happening here. God is making himself meetable. How can the awesome, majestic, all-powerful God of the universe meet with a weak little human? Well, he can do it by becoming like them. God wanted to meet Gideon, so he made himself meetable. Last night, we looked at the beginning of this conversation between Gideon and God. God was calling him to save his people, and he gave that great promise that he would be with him. It seems that Gideon still has his doubts, though, about who he's speaking to. He isn't sure if this really is God, and so, well, he asks for a sign and goes off to prepare a sacrifice of meat and bread. Meanwhile, God waits, and I find that absolutely incredible. To me, this is a glimpse into God's love and patience towards us. He's willing to wait so that Gideon can have some assurance. Eventually, Gideon returns and his sacrifice is ready. So God tells him what to do with it. He was to put the meat and the unleavened cakes on the rock and then to pour the broth over it, which he does. Then, well, everything happens quite quickly. With one touch, the rock ignites into flames and burns up the food. And once that's happened, well, we're told the angel disappears from Gideon's sight. Gideon, well, he's left in absolute despair and panic. Why? Well, because this sign and this show of power has revealed the truth of who was talking to him. This angel of the Lord truly was God himself. And in the Old Testament time of Gideon, well, that wasn't actually a good thing. Let's head to Exodus chapter 33 to understand why. In Exodus 33, we see Moses asking God to show him his glory. And God agrees to make all of his goodness pass before Moses. But look at what he says in verse 20. "You cannot see my face, for man shall not see me and live." Why is Gideon freaking out here? Well, he realizes that he's just been speaking face to face with God, so he must reckon he's about to die. Gideon fears for his life. So imagine the relief he must have felt as God speaks once again. God says, "Peace, do not be afraid, you're not going to die." Now, I don't know about you, but I've got two different responses rolling around in my head as I read this. First of all, I think to myself, oh, thank goodness for Gideon. I thought he was in trouble there. What a relief. But then I also think to myself, well, why is Gideon's life being spared? I mean, think about the way he and his people have treated God. They've forgotten God and his great deeds. They've rejected him and they've gone about worshipping all of these false and meaningless idols. If I look at the conversation he's just had with God as well, he's pretty much blamed God for all the bad stuff that's going on, and he's accused God of forgetting about them. I mean, God is bound to be angry, and Gideon, well, he surely does deserve to be punished. So why isn't the fire of God's wrath consuming Gideon for his sinfulness? Well, the answer is it's already fallen. Not on Gideon, but on the meat and bread. God's anger has been turned away from Gideon, who's now at peace with God because the fire fell on a sacrifice. Let's be very clear here. This moment is a massive arrow pointing us straight ahead to Jesus. You see, like Gideon, we've also treated God terribly. We so often turn our backs on him and we live in sin. And so we also would be fairly deserving of punishment and death. But a sacrifice was provided for us as well, and his name is Jesus. Jesus was God in human form. God became like one of us and stepped into our mess. He came as a man. He made himself meetable. And he came to save us. Jesus died in agony on a Roman cross. And as he died, well, the fire of God's wrath fell on him instead of you and me. Jesus didn't stay dead, though. He rose from the grave. And guess what he said to some of his friends on that day? Peace be with you. Like Gideon, we're granted peace with God because of a sacrifice. When we put our trust in Christ, well, we don't need to fear God. Instead, we can actually enjoy friendship with him instead. Gideon, the loser, is at the start of his transformation into Gideon, the mighty warrior. But it's about to get painful for him. In verse 24, we see that Gideon responded to God's grace by building an altar to the Lord, the one true God. And God wanted him to build another one. But first, well, he would need to tear an altar down. And this one was being used to worship a false god. The problem is, well, it belonged to Gideon's dad. Before we think about what happened next, let's think for a moment about something that I'm sure has stressed most of us out at some point. Decisions. I don't know about you, but I'm really not that good when it comes to decisions. I can be pretty indecisive at times. What makes it worse is that, well, Steph can sometimes be the same. At times, it can take us about 15 minutes just to pick a movie to watch when we're at home because we scroll through Amazon Prime and Netflix. We just can't seem to pick one or agree on what looks good. By far, though, my biggest issue is whenever I have to make a decision about food. Last week, it took me almost a whole day to decide what I wanted to order from Millside in Clockmills. The menu, it was just so big, and there was at least 5 things on here that I would love to have had. It can be really difficult for us to make decisions. But why? Why are decisions so tough for us at times? Well, John D. Alcock suggests that decisions are hard because of one little word, and it's this one, or. When I'm sitting in 55 degrees north and I'm struggling to choose between duck spring rolls or nachos, there's nothing better than when Steph suggests getting both and that we just share them. Immediately, well, the stress disappears because the or becomes an and. Instead of having to choose one or the other, I can simply have a little bit of both. That works well for food, but it's very dangerous when it comes to God. And it seems that this is the issue for Gideon's father. You see, Joash wasn't totally ungodly. No, it seems that God was part of his life, because verse 13 tells us that he passed on to Gideon the truth of God's wonderful deeds. The issue was that he had a divided heart. God wasn't enough for him, so he worshipped Baal and Asherah as well. As Tim Keller puts it, the Israelites had not abandoned the worship of God for idols. They had combined the worship of God with idols. They couldn't make a decision between either or, so they decided to have both God and idols. And that took the stress away from having to choose. But God, well, he won't allow that. Remember the first commandment, you shall have no other gods but me. There's a choice to be made here. Gideon can have God or the idols, but he cannot have both. So God commands him to tear down his dad's altar and to cut down his Asherah pole. Choosing to serve God means choosing to destroy idols. So let's be real tonight. What are the idols in our own hearts that need to be demolished as well? What are the things that we believe we need in life to make us feel good and to give us security? What are the things that whisper to us, without me your life will be rubbish? What could you not imagine life without? Is it sporting achievement, academic success, a boyfriend or a girlfriend, the car that you own, that job that you'd love to have? Whatever we choose to fill the blank with in God plus equals happiness. Well, that's what's taken hold of our heart, and God isn't happy with that. God will not be one of our options. He wants to be the only option because we don't actually need anything other than Him. As the song goes, in Christ alone my hope is found. He is my light, my strength, my song. This is not an easy decision for Gideon. It's impossible to hide a smashed idol. If he does this, well, everyone will find out, and they're not going to be very happy about it. Choosing God, well, it's going to mean going against his town, his friends, and even his own dad. It's possible that he'll lose everything by choosing to follow God, but he knows that God is worth everything. And so he did as the Lord told him. Now, he may have done it in the dead of night because he was scared, but credit where credit's due, he still did it. And sure enough, the next morning, well, the people discover what's happened and they are fuming. They found out that it was Gideon, and so they head over to his house and they demand his death. Surely, when Joash, his dad, is told what his son's done, well, he's going to turn against his son as well. But that's not the case. We find that Joash actually stands up for his son. He says to the people, if Baal really is a god, then he can defend himself. In other words, he's saying if Baal exists, well, let him defend himself and he can deal with Gideon instead of us. Maybe Gideon's actions are causing Joash to begin to think. Maybe he's beginning to see that Baal is actually worthless, and so he puts him to the test. And guess what? Nothing happens. It seems Gideon made the right choice after all. As we finish tonight, well, let me ask you this. Will you make the right choice? It's time to search your heart, to identify those idols and to put them to death. It's time to stop living an and life and to make a decision. Is it God or is it your idols? Because you can't have both. Gideon, well, he realized that and he made the right choice. Let's let go of our idols and let's take full hold of Jesus, the one who came to show us what God is like, the one who came to be our sacrifice so that we can have peace with God. Let me end tonight with the words of John D. Alcock. Your false gods cannot save you, but Jesus can. Your false gods hold you captive, Jesus sets you free. Your false gods will fail you, but Jesus never will. Again, I just want to give you some space tonight to reflect on everything that we've been thinking about. So as the next song that comes up plays, just think through everything we've discussed together tonight. And can I add that if you want to talk about anything, feel free to get in touch over our social media, or if you have my number, you can send me a message. I'd love to chat with you about anything that we're talking about this week. Thanks for joining us again tonight, and I will see you again some more for day 3.